Okay, the recording has started, so we can share this later with folks, or you can look at it later for your reference. Um, so in terms of questions, I think there are not that many of us, so I think we can ask people to voice their questions later on, but if there are questions that occur to you as we're going along, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and I will be monitoring this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our discussion. I think it would be really helpful as we look at the Google Hangouts platform for us to get an idea of why both the Literacy Council and Ethiopian Community Center decided to choose Google Hangouts for their platform. Alexandra, did you want to start with that question?
Yeah, sure. So basically, considering like everything happened and so fast, and if I am not mistaken, the week of March 16th, when was everything was closed. So we were at the office and we said, okay, we have to come up with something like now. So then we immediately look for simplicity. And then when you look at all of the different like resources for like to hold an online meeting, Google Hangouts is the simplest one. Zoom offers more features, but then again, we needed something easy to explain to our teachers, tutors, and students, and something that we could like make it work like right away. So that's why we decided on using Google Hangouts. Another very good thing that why we decided on Google Hangouts is because Google Hangouts allows you to have conferences or meetings for as long as you need it. For Zoom, to have Zoom for the free version, it is only 40 minutes. So for our classes, having classes 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours on Saturdays, then we will have to have like the paid version of Zoom to hold to use that platform. So basically, those were the reasons why we decided with Zoom. We also looked at Google Classroom because someone mentioned to us, and I believe Montgomery County Public Schools, they use Google Classrooms, and in all schools they use Google Classroom. So I looked at it for a moment, and just when I tried to join like Google Classroom to start playing with it, you have to choose like your role, if you are an educator or if you are the student. And then I just selected one, and then I just wanted to change it, and it said to change your role you have to contact your the manager of the account. So when that happened to me, I said this is going to be a big problem, because to explain this to students, and of course there will be mistakes, they will choose a different role, it will happen. So then we will have to have someone like managing all that. So we said, okay, no more, let's not look for anything else, and let's focus on Google Hangouts. And it has worked very well, I believe.
Great. Rosa, would you like to share with us about your experience at Ethiopian Community Center, why you chose Google Hangouts?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. So yeah, the reason why we chose Google Hangout is because one of our instructors, of course, everything happened fast, and we didn't know what to do. We were not sure how long this staying in home is going to be effective. So we didn't implement it right away, but as soon as we realized that we will be closed until the end of April, started to communicate with my instructors, and they recommended Google Hangouts. And I've done my own research on it, and I found out it was better for us because with the old version of Google Classic, which was an incorporation of both the video chat as well as the chat, it was not as effective as it should be for our classroom, because it didn't have any feature of recording your lessons as you were teaching. So we decided to go with Google Hangouts. And like Alexandra was saying, it's easy to use, easy to download, and also it's one of the secured platforms that I happen to believe because it's related to Google, and also it has a free trial with the basic account with G Suite. It has a free 14 days trial. And I know this was not going to be like at first instant. I know that everything was not going to be perfect. So I felt like trying it for 14 days and then moving from there was a good idea. And it really worked well on our last class Saturday, which was more of, we did it more of familiarizing the students to be familiar with the platform and how to use it, how to log in, how to unmute themselves. So yeah, that's how we chose Google Hangouts. And we'll also look into Zoom. Of course, it's not free. One of the things that was not appealing to us, it's not free. So you can use it only for 40 minutes. And then if you want to use longer than that, you have to sign in back and forth again, or you have to pay $15 per user. $15 is not really that expensive when it comes to the benefit of having a platform which is really good to use, but we found out that it was having some issues with security. People were jumping into conversations, and and they recently admitted that Zoom had an issue with security. So we had to go with Google Hangouts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And in terms of getting your teachers and your learners prepared, Ahu, do you want to say a few words first about LCNC?
Sure, definitely. So as Alexandra stated, when this thing happened and when all of our classes got interrupted, we were in the winter session. And the main problem for us was that how are we going to let our students know that the instruction is going to continue digitally? So that was our first challenge. And what happened is that I know that we will talk about it possibly later, but we did have training videos on Google Hangouts, and we asked our teachers to email their students. And first things first, we really needed to confirm that students had valid email addresses, although we collected contact information and all other information about them, but sometimes emails bounce back. Students give sometimes unintentionally wrong cell phone numbers and such. So the first challenge was to be able to get the word out and inform the students that the instruction will continue, but we are available to help. So that was the main challenge. Another one was that although most of our teachers were really interested and they were very determined in helping our students digitally, it didn't matter in what format, but most of our teachers were a little bit like, how is this really going to work? Because, teachers as well as students, they do have different technological or digital capabilities. So, they know how to check the emails, but can I really do Google Hangouts? How does this work?
Yeah.
And easing that tension also took a while. Although Google Hangouts, to me, as someone, who didn't prepare the videos, as someone kind of an outsider, it's simple, but you still have to put a lot of work to make sure your teachers and your students really understand what is required of them. I think these are the two main things to continue with digital instruction with Google Hangouts or any other, format, let it be Zoom or something else.
How much time would you say that you spent on working with your teachers and getting them?
Yeah, so what happened is that first we sent out a general email with the videos that Alexandra and my boss Gabe Martinez did. We asked the teachers to watch those videos, and then we had specific videos mostly for teachers and students. But what we have been doing since we first rolled out Google Hangouts, every Friday we hold virtual 1-hour sessions We call them as virtual brown bag sessions.
Mhm.
So every Friday, so now that all of our classes, we have a total of 38 classes currently online, including the spring classes. We have late spring classes to start later on. But so each week I ask a teacher whom I know that has the hang of this Google Hangouts to share some tips and suggestions that works for her or him. I share some ideas, and then every week we rotated. 1 week a teacher presents, and then the next one another teacher. Or if I do find, or Alexander or someone else in my team, if we do come up with some ideas that could help our teachers and students with Google Hangouts, then we share them every Friday.
Mhm. Great, thank you.
No problem.
Rosa, what about Ethiopian Community Center?
Sure. So we got lucky when it comes to training our teachers. Most of our teachers had experience in using Google Hangouts with their regular jobs because they're teachers, they're instructors, and they've been teaching by using the online platform, which made my life easier, as well as I didn't introduce something new to them. They were comfortable. But when it comes to the students, what we did at first was I asked the teachers to email out a general message saying that the class will resume. I sent a general message to the students, but some of the emails bounced back as Ahu was saying, and I know some of them are intentional and some of them are, I don't know, maybe they don't access their emails. It was one of the challenge for us to get a hold to the students. And what I did at that point was I contacted my coordinator, site coordinator, and make sure that we get all the right email addresses. And I was also doing my part by calling the students to give me the right or the correct email address. So as soon as we got settled that in, and I asked the teachers to email the students about the platform that we were using, sending them videos, tutorial class videos about Google Hangouts, and it worked well. But also I've been getting high volume of calls from the students to ask in Amharic because the teacher is an English speaker. And there was some misunderstanding, and they've been calling me to ask what's going on, what kind of, still they needed more explanation in their native language. And I've also tried to minimize or eradicate, I wouldn't say eradicate, but minimize misunderstandings that we had on there. After that, the teacher emailed out the links, the invitations, as soon as we knew that everyone was on board downloading the Google Hangout. He sent them the links, and also we spent almost an hour and 30 minutes of our class on Saturday in presenting and sharing the presentation of the teachers' PowerPoint on how to use Google Hangouts, and it was kind of a training day for us the first day. And also that point, like I said again, one of the barriers that we had was language, and I had to attend the whole class with also the help of the site coordinator who speaks English and Amharic with the translations, and by repeating again and again how to use, it's new to them, and some of them are not tech savvy, so we understandably had to do it again. I mean, repetitively, we had to show them. I had to share my my screen to show them how to mute themselves, how to unmute themselves, because one of the drawbacks that we had with Google Hangout with the G Suite was the presenter unfortunately could not unmute the participants. That's one thing that we found out. He can or she can mute you, but he or she cannot unmute you. So we had to teach our students to unmute themselves because they keep talking, but they didn't know that they are already mute. So it took a big chunk of our classroom time on Saturday. But at the end of the day, everybody was happy. The students were happy. The teacher was happy. And actually, it was really beyond my expectation. I thought it was going to be chaotic, but it went well, considering it's a first class.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to turn now to a presentation by Alexandra on the Hangouts and how it works. But before that, does anybody have a question that they would like to ask?
Hi, this is Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
Hey, do all the students have to have a Gmail account to use Google Hangouts? And if not Gmail, does it have to be another email?
Yes, that's one of actually the drawbacks about Google Hangouts that we were going to talk. Hopefully, I was thinking to talk about it later on. That one of the shortcomings about Google Hangout is they need to have a Gmail account. And some of the students had Yahoo account and Hotmail, you know, all the other emails. And I felt like that's one of the drawbacks about Google Hangouts. Yeah, they need to have Gmails, yes.
Okay, thanks.
May I add one thing, Rudy?
Yes.
About this one. So what happens is that I think students may log on to Google Hangouts even with a Yahoo email, but when you do have an email other than Gmail, the sound or the visibility or some qualities of Google Hangouts unfortunately are not that good. So I think it is better to have everybody to have the Gmail address for that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, there's plenty of time later to ask questions as well. Alexandra, would you like to go ahead and share your screen then? And
Yes, sure. So what I'm going to show you, it is, so we have already shared the videos we created that we sent to our teachers, tutors, and students on how to access Google Hangouts. So the presentation that I'm going to share right now, it is on when you are already in Hangouts. So, okay. So basically what we have been telling our teachers and students, it is to focus on these three main functions of Google Hangouts. So mute and unmute microphones, using the chat box, and for teachers only how to present or how to use the function of present now, which is the screen sharing. So let's talk about the first one. So if you have you can move the pictures to the other, does it work for me? Yes, it does. Because I have some, I typed some information here. So it is extremely important to teach, like Rosa was saying, to teach students how to mute and unmute the microphones. Because if they don't do it, like we can mute them, but then we need to hear from them when we ask them questions. So they need to know how to do these two different things, because if not, the class is going to be chaotic. So on what I'm showing here, it is basically when you join the session, then you have the microphone here. So you just by clicking on it, or if you are using from your cell phone, just tap on the microphone, and then it's going to mute the microphone. And the same way you will use it, you will do exactly the same to unmute it. So when you mute the microphone, it will go red. So I actually created also some slides for one of our beginner classes because students were having trouble understanding those directions. So I just put the microphone in white and then the microphone in red, and then synonyms like mute, silence. So in that way they all understood, and it was very good. They all could do it. So here again, this is how. If it is on mute, if the microphone is on mute, then you will see the microphone here is in white. You can also check here on top that it will be, I know that the image is small, but so here on top on the upper right side of the screen, it will show my picture. If I was showing my picture, if I had the camera on, you will see my face here, and then on this side, you will see different boxes, the same we are doing through Zoom. All of the participants here, but when I was creating this presentation, it was just me. So here it also shows me those three little dots, green dots. So that shows me that my microphone is unmuted. So we explain that to students, like showing them pictures like this, so they know what they have to do. Then when it is muted, it goes red. And if you look at the top again here, the microphone is red. So this is how you see the option from your computer. But also from your cell phone, it will look like this. So some students, when they are accessing the class through their cell phones, they say that they don't find the microphone. They don't see the microphone, so they can mute or unmute their microphone. So it is important to tell students just to tap on the screen, to touch the screen, and then those options from the bottom will appear. So again, this is before, so you can mute your microphone before you join the meeting. So just by tap, like, yes, that you press on the microphone and then you join the meeting. Again, this is from your cell phone. And after you join the meeting from your cell phone, then you will tap on the microphone here, and then it will be on red. That means it is muted. And this is what I was mentioning. For students who are not who are connecting from the phone, say they don't see the microphone, please ask them to tap on the screen. Okay. Where did I jump? Okay, so the next option or the next function, it is the chat box. So for our classes, we have asked students and teachers to use the chat box so we can keep track of attendance. So when they log in the class, so then they type their name in the chat box. But again, this is something that we have to explain to students how it works. So it is to point that the chat box is that little square that they will see on top. And then by clicking on that little box, they will get the screen like this. And on the bottom is where they can type the message and then press the arrow that it shows there. It is not clear in this picture. And then they will see the messages. It is also good if the teacher is asking some questions and then students can provide the answers through the chat box as well. This is from the computer. That's the way you will see to the chat box from the computer. And from the cell phone, the chat box will show. So you will have these options here. The first one shows you how many participants are in the call, and the middle one is a chat box. This one, they will not have trouble finding it because it is always there. That one doesn't disappear like the microphones or the camera, it does. But here they will always have that one. So like when I mentioned before that to tap, it is because here you can see the microphone and you can see the camera, but here you cannot. And this is when students say, oh, I don't see my microphone. How can I mute my microphone? I don't see it. So they see the screen like this on the cell phone with nothing. So it is important to tell them just touch the screen, tap on the screen, and then they will show up. Okay? And then it will have the messages here the same way like on the computer, where they can type their messages. And now the present option. So it is again like we are doing with Zoom here to share the screen. So we are using, in our classes, we are using the eSource, like our curriculum is Ventures. So we are using the eSource, which is the book online. So by using Present and Now, teachers are able to share on the screen the book. They can also play the audio and through the screen. So it is very useful. So this is from the computer. And again, we don't need to show this to the students because the students will not present anything. No, at this moment, we don't want to get into too much with that. Like this is something for like teachers just to use it. So by clicking on the Present Now option or function, teachers will be able to share the screen. So here, so if you have been talking to the students for a while, like we are doing, like using the camera, and now want to present, you may not see the present option like it shows here. So if I have been talking to my students and then nothing shows on the bottom of the screen, and I am ready to present, again, I need to tap, like to click on the screen, so it will show me those options. We have had some teachers having trouble presenting, and it is because of that. They said, oh, but like the present now option is gone, I don't have it. So it is like just click on the screen twice, and then you will get the options on the bottom, okay? It is kind of like the present mode, or that bar on the bottom like goes to sleep. So then we have to pull it, okay. So when you click on the present now option, like I'm showing here on the bottom, you will get two options. You will get share or present your entire screen, or share a window. I personally prefer to say my entire screen, because I'm going to see all of the tabs that I have open, everything, instead of just like a screen, a window, it could confuse me. So we have been telling teachers, just select this option, your entire screen. So by selecting your entire screen, this is what you get. This box that it shows all your screen. It is important, and you have to click on the picture in the middle and then select share. If you don't click this, it will not work. So first I click on present now, then I will click on your entire screen. I will get this option. I need to click in my screen, the option, the picture that is showing me, and click share. And after I do that, I am able to share and select the tab, the window that I want to share with my students. So in this case, I will, I here and I have all of the tabs here. So I will just click on the one that I want to, the one that I know. Okay, so I'm going to use these slides. So I click there, and then when I click there, it will show the slides here. And when you want to finish presenting, you just stop, click on stop sharing, and it goes back to your camera. It's easy. It's just like practice. I don't think it is really complicated, but I believe you have to practice this. And when it is about sharing, is to know, okay, just have the windows that you really are going to use in class, because if you have this many, and then you don't know which one is the one that you like, where you have the material to share, is going to be overwhelming and confusing. So just have the ones before you start the class, have them open and ready. So you know, okay, I have these two that I'm going to use, so it's going to be easy. Okay, that's it.
Great, thank you, Alexandra.
You're very welcome.
Well, we can take questions now, if anybody.
Let me just stop sharing.
Yeah, there's this, oh, you got it, okay. Yes, open for questions. Zephyr? I believe you can unmute yourself. Let me see. There.
Oh, hi there. It just was using the applaud reaction.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Presentation. No questions yet, but I'm
okay.
Actively, listening in. Thanks.
Were there any problems once you have your email address, is it that you invite the learners to a meeting? How does that work?
You wanna go?
Okay, so what happened is that I know that there are two ways to do that, but what I asked the teachers to do, I told the teachers, because all of our teachers have SCMC email addresses, I did tell them to go to their calendar and create an event and choose conferencing option, which is the Google Hangouts. And in the guest section, teachers enter the students' email addresses and choose the time of the class and then send the invite to students. But I know that there is also another way to do it from the app, right, Alexandra?
Yeah, so then when we down to think about how we are going to share this message, and it has to be virtually because we don't have time now to have a meeting with teachers, So then we started to think, okay, what we are going to do on this video. So how to use Hangouts, how to download the app, how to create a Gmail account. So one of the videos we created is how you are going to create that invite, the class, creating the class online, and it is by sending the invite. So it is using it from the account, like using the calendar, or you can just be like through Hangouts using the app directly. So the videos that we created, we explain also how to send the invites.
Great.
Because the classes repeat, oops, sorry, because of the classes repeat, and they say like Mondays and Wednesdays. So on the videos, we explain to teachers, if your class is Mondays and Wednesday from, let's say, 6:30 to 8:30, you don't have to send an invite on every Monday and every Wednesday. Just create the invite for Mondays and Wednesdays from 6:30 to 8:30 for the length of the class, and then you don't have to worry about the invite. The students will have it because you will set it from the very beginning. So it is part of the videos that we create.
Yes, and Ahu and Alexander have been very generously shared their videos. I believe they're now on the MCAEL website. If Christine or Halima, you could share the link in the chat, that would be helpful. And it will be, the link will be in our e-bulletin that's coming out tomorrow as well, to the whole network.
I have a question. Is there a function in Google Hangout as there is in Zoom or breakout rooms or something like that where students interact with each other? I see the head shaking already. So there's no way to get the students to interact separately from you as a teacher?
No, sadly it doesn't have that option.
Thank you. Have you figured out ways around it where you can get your students to interact with each other directly?
Ahu came up with a great idea, not exactly like that, but dividing the classes like into groups to have the interaction with the meeting. So Ahu, it does.
Sure. So, but you know, I have been thinking a lot about this instruction time online. So, you know, since all of our students have different needs, so what I came up with is that I suggest the teachers use groups, and then I want the teachers to group the students in small groups based on the students' needs and their learning abilities. So this way, the teacher can create another invite, but it's only going to be specific to some groups. Not everybody is going to be in the same group, just keeping it small. So that's what we think. And next week, we're going to start with it and see how it will work.
Yep. We did the same thing too. Unfortunately, Google Hangouts, it doesn't have any feature where it lets you, it allows you to have small group discussions or pair work, but the teacher can always create, I mean, of course, it's going to be a little bit more work to the teacher, to the instructor, but still, they have the access to send different links to the groups, and that way they can discuss as a small group discussion. And the way we've been sending the link is we haven't used directly Google Hangouts to send an invite, but what we were doing was, what we did so far is sending emails to the students with the link to the Google Hangout, to the classroom. So it worked well for us last week, and we're gonna do the same thing this week also. Thank you.
Thank you. If I might ask a question, then I'd be curious to know what percentage of your students are actually in class now? I mean, just as an average.
So for us, you know, we have some classes that are completely full. Everybody is attending, but we also have some classes where we only have 5 or 6 students attending.
Mm-hmm.
but we're thinking that some things might have happened because we know that the kids are at home, or our students might be worrying about their jobs. You know, I really do not think that for the majority of the students, taking the English class right now is the priority. Maybe I think that's why they are not attending. I'm thinking maybe the emails and text messages that we send out to students, maybe those text messages and emails never made it to students. So they are really unaware of these online classes. But majority of classes, especially advanced, high intermediate and advanced levels, packed. I mean, almost everybody is attending, ready to go. Lots of teaching with visual materials are happening. But I think, I really do not want to make a generalization, but I think the students who really do not have access to a computer or the internet, or, you know, like I have my kids at home too, so it's challenging. So maybe these are the things that really prevented them. But we were thinking, so since MCPS has distributed all of those Chromebooks for students, one idea I had was that, oh, that's great. So maybe it could be great. Maybe our students, you know, could use those, but I didn't see any change after that happened. So I know they are challenged with many, many things. So.
Can I also ask, is there something equivalent to a whiteboard or something that you can either type on or write on?
Yeah, what we suggested is that, you know, if you do Google, there are lots and lots of apps that you can use. But what I suggested to teachers is that use Google Slides in the background, as, you know, Alexandra shared, you know, before, you know, how she shared her screen. Just with the bigger fonts, Google Slides are in the background. You're sharing it as your whiteboard. I know that there are ways to make that white slide look like a chalkboard, but I'm not that much tech savvy, but I can figure that out. As long as teachers use, you know, bigger fonts. And another thing, I don't know if Alexandra is going to talk about that, you know, the Google Hangouts has the captions on and off button. So it also, I tell the teachers to let their students know if the students are having a difficulty in hearing what the teacher is saying, that caption button might help. At least they will see it in subtitles. So, you know, to some extent, but I think Google Slides, it's there. You don't have to buy anything, an app or anything like that. So it works. So.
Or if it is to buy something, I have it like this tiny like whiteboard. And it is like, if it is you're not like that proficient to change between, like I got this $2, I'm good.
Hi, this is Shannon. I had a question about the, like, using the captions feature. Is that something that you can use on Zoom as well, or is it exclusive to Google Hangouts?
Yeah,
I do not have much experience about Zoom. I don't know, so I will leave it to others who can tell.
Christine, do you know that?
I believe I have seen it on Zoom. I'm not absolutely sure, or I might be confusing it. I'd have to double check.
Okay, thanks.
I can actually, this is Alex, I can answer that. There isn't actually that capture, that it would actually capture what the person is saying live. Not on Zoom.
Okay, thanks.
That's a Google thing. Good for them.
Yeah, when it comes to attendance with Ethiopian Community Center, with like who was saying, with the advanced and intermediate levels, we had a pretty much, would say almost all of the students joined, which was really, really awesome. And we found out that having kids at home, especially those of the students who had middle school or high school kids, was really helpful too, because they could be able to help to show their parents or mom or dad how to log in, how to meet. They were so helpful. But those of the students who had little kids, of course, like Ahu was saying, and like what's happening with me, we can hear some background noises and some of them were distracted, but still the willingness were there. The willingness to attend the class were there, which was really great to see. We had difficulties in getting hold to the lower level, the beginner students, and we still are working on getting in touch with them because we had very few students on the lower levels, but I'm sure we're gonna work out. It's gonna work out fine if we keep contacting them again and again. Yeah, and with the caption, of course, Google Hangout has a caption, which is really, I found it really appealing because sometimes the students may have difficulties in their earphones or listening to the teacher who was giving the instruction, but they can read the caption part, which is great. And like Alexandra and Aho was saying also, we can always use PowerPoint presentations and then write with a big font to, if you want to draw, and you can also drawing, I think we can also drawing up to show them. Sometimes students tend to learn better if you associate words with pictures. So I feel like it has more features when it comes to the presentation, but if the teacher is not comfortable using that, then they can simply use probably the whiteboard, the little whiteboard, or any piece of paper. They can use flip charts if they have one, if it's not too expensive to be used. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This is Alex. I just had a quick one for LCMC probably. Is there a way to verify attendance using Google Hangouts?
So what happens with attendance is that I was actually talking to Jamie and she suggested that there are really a couple of ways that could be done. So one of them is when students log on, they write their names in the chat box and then teacher sees the names and then the teacher writes the names down. So that should be enough. But one of my teachers was saying that sometimes the comments in that chat box might disappear. So that teacher, what she does is that she takes a picture of the chat box and then showing all the, students there. So that's one way. And I was also told that another way for attendance is that, teachers might choose to assign assignments and homework to students, but by doing so, the teachers really have to be very careful. If we are assigning work, how long do I think that assignment is going to take for my students? So if I assign it, let's say unit 1, lesson 1, and I put a time like 1 hour, and then when a teacher returns it, it could be counted towards attendance. But I really do not know. And I really also would like to hear what is MCAEL's take about the online instruction hours attendance wise as well. So.
Well, I think we're planning a future meeting to discuss that. I know the guidelines that have come through via Octave. To Octave, they're saying it's up to each state. So I haven't seen any state guidelines.
Yeah, because I really wanted to know. I'm sure it applies to Alex's program as well. They were the instructions that was given to me, but I know that there is something called the proxy hours for distance learning where we could apply and get approval. I think there are so many ways, depending on the program. I think they do it case by case.
Yeah, with Ethiopian Community Center, also we had the same experience as Ahu was saying. What we did was we asked the students to write there saying, hi, hello, this is Rosa. Hi, hello, this is Tigges. And then that way the teacher can write down their names or probably copy and paste the chat box, and we had our attendance that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any feature where it could track the history of the participants after the Google Hangout is closed. So it's better to do it as you go. And sometimes the tricky part we saw, considering attendance, was some of the participants, they logged in from someone else's, under someone else's name, and we kept asking, who's this person? And then they tell us, oh, actually it's me, and we figured out that way, because sometimes it's tricky. It could be someone else that you don't know, or their husbands, wives, or kids. So that was the only way that we find it working to have attendance.
Speaking of, we're thinking a lot about security with regard to Zoom. Has there been anything that comes up in terms of Hangouts, in terms of security?
Nothing we heard so far.
Okay. Any other questions? Qiao?
I have a simple question. Is this Google Hangout a separate application that we need to download, or it's inside Google? Because when I see the suite of my Google, I can see Classroom, I see some Jamboard that for some similar purpose. I don't see Google Hangout, so that's a different software.
If you are on your Google account and you go to your Drive, it will show there. It is there. As you see Drive and you see Classroom, all of those options, then you will see Google Hangouts or Meet. Some people call it Google Hangouts or Google Meet.
Oh, I see Meet.
So there's some kind of confusion. Yes, correct. So okay. That's the one, yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just to add on that, Google Hangout is the old name. They're trying to get rid of Google Hangout by the end of this year, and they're changing it to Google Meet now. That's why it's a little bit confusing when you even Google it. You would see sometimes Google Classic versus Google Meet. So the one we're talking about right now is Google Meet, because the Google Classic doesn't have a lot of features because it's and also it's free, and when it's free, sometimes they minimize the features. So you should be able to see it when you go to your Google account, especially G Suite. You should be able to see it as Meet. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I got it. All right.
Good question.
Yes, good one.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap up? We're 5 minutes to 2. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much to our guest presenters today. I feel like this meeting has been very informative. I hope all of you feel the same. Before we end, I just wanted to ask if our presenters are willing to answer questions that come up later. And if so, if you wouldn't mind putting your email addresses in the chat box, that would be terrific.
Sure.
Can I ask an off-topic question? One thing that we're trying to figure out is where to send students who are new. Are any of the programs at this point, you think, bringing in new students in the next couple months who haven't been tested, weren't in the program before?
I know that some are starting up. Shannon, I think you have a session that was about to start.
Sorry, this is Shannon. Yes, we do have a session that's about to start, but it's only for returning students for winter. And the same thing, the whole logistics of intake for newbies. We haven't wrapped our head around that quite yet.
Alex, I can get back to you after this meeting. I'll take a look at what people are doing.
Thank you.
So keep a lookout for our next newsletter, which is going to come out tomorrow at some point, and it will include our future trainings and additional resources on all of these different platforms for online teaching. Next week's weekly network meeting will focus on Facebook Live, and it will feature one of the instructors from Vietnamese American Services. So with that, unless anybody has any other announcements or anything, we'll bring this to a close. Oh, and if you haven't, please put your name and your affiliation in the chat box. Thank you.
Yeah, Rudy, I just found out when I was doing my research recently, I just found out that Google Hangout or G Suite is giving free access to nonprofit organizations. It's something that we should really look into it.
Okay.
And it will be until July 1st, 2020. So I think that will help something with the budget or, you know.
That's great to know. And so we can do some research on that and make sure
Yes.
it's in our resources. We can let everybody know about it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. So with that, it was nice to see everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.